I mean, I had a plumber around my house last week, actually, who diagnosed that the problem in our house, we've got too much insulation, and this was what was stopping the thermostat working, and advised me to take all the insulation off my hot water tank, and that would solve it all. Now, I happen to disagree with him, and I haven't done that, but I think how many people are actually confused and heard too many things and too many contradictory stories about what you do to your homes that actually they've got into that kind of mess, and no doubt he's advised all sorts of other people who have done that. So I think sometimes actually simplifying it is actually just let people get on with things and just actually give them the rules about things that are absolutely fundamental, and perhaps carbon is one of those, but perhaps we can ease off on some of the other rules that we have on people and just let people get on with it and have a sense of pride about their own homes and let them do it themselves.
Thank you for that. Yeah. Please, over in the middle, and then one just a bit further back. Oh, sorry.
Hi, I'm Jane Michelle. I'm from Connaught PLC. Make no apology for the fact that I'm from a PLC either. Just one observation on the winter fuel allowance. How many of those recipients actually live in sheltered accommodation where they pay a fixed fee, and the landlord has a huge deficit gap between the rising cost of energy and that winter fuel that they've burned to keep those people warm? There's got to be some movement there on that, I think, but that's just an observation.
I think you also get it in residential care, don't you?
Yeah.
Even though you are not paying your heating bills. Yeah.
Yeah, one of our clients actually increased their service charge by 118% last April and is still facing a huge deficit. So you can't keep huge increases like that onto the tenants, but equally, I'm not going to name them because they shouldn't get the censure that a lot of other associations are in the same boat with. My other question is, this morning, David Ireland's presentation I thought was fantastic, really inspirational for us. And as a major service provider to organisations in the sector, we work in every part of the UK, and yet we've never been approached to share our buying power or make use of the training academies that we have up and down the country with associations like yours or the charitable other benefits that are out there. And I think there's an opportunity there. We are a PLC, not a charity, but we do have a conscience and we would like to help. So I think there's conversations.
Why don't you two get together after? Yeah, that's great. But 3 rows back, please.
Thank you. Stephen Shorrocks from Sussex Building Control. We've heard a lot today about the need to increase the efficiency of existing housing stock and funding mechanisms for doing that. Olivia was saying that we need to think about new streams of funding. And one of the questions earlier was about the use of 106 agreements. The point I'd like to make is that in the original consultation for the proposed changes to the building regulations 2 years ago, there was a proposal to include consequential improvements on residential properties, so that where people were extending and improving their property, they would spend 10% of that money on bringing up the efficiency of the remainder of the property. Now, whether that's used as on that individual property or is put into a more central or local government fund for use by housing associations or other people like that, I think we did miss a trick in the government bottling it and removing that idea from proposed regulations. I wonder what the panel thought about that.
Anyone got any thoughts on that? That is the way that you're trying to get planning to propel the expenditure. Yeah, have a go.
I think perhaps it just, we're probably coming at it from the wrong angle there, and we need to make it something that people want to do, I think, and it's just a sensible choice for them, so that they, if they spend this amount of money, they get a nicer home and they have to spend less on their fuel bill. I think if we start possibly sort of making people do it when they're having an extension or when they're doing something else, it'll just perhaps have perverse effects, and people will actually, I think we need to come at it from a point where it's something that is the desirable thing, that'll increase the value of your property. And also one of the points on the Section 106 issue, new build, there is a great difference at the moment between what we're expecting from new build and what we're expecting from retrofit, and we're not suggesting that we regulate and retrofit of properties and instigate particular standards or without any money attached to that. but I think it would be a shame to sort of pull back from the standards that we're going for. We just need good standards right across the board for new builds, so everyone has to be reaching the same standards at the same time, and that can be done through building regulations, and then the supply chain will come to meet that. There is also the issue that if people aren't building very much at the moment, there's not much Section 106 funding, so how much would it actually deliver? I think we need to, we're looking at a big programme for all our properties, so small bits of money will perhaps not provide enough for the work that we actually need to carry out.
Okay, and you're making the point there, Olivia, that planning for new build, for sure, by regulation can achieve an awful lot, and ratcheting it up, not just for the housing associations,
if it's
but
done right across the board,
right across the piece to house builders as well. And prices fall when you get into the big numbers of all new homes. When I was at the Rowntree Foundation, we pioneered all this lifetime home stuff, and we got the building regulations, Part M of the building regulations changed in 1999. This is the level thresholds, no steps up to the front door, this stuff. And the house builders produced great graphs. There was a very significant campaign against the accessibility standards that we were trying to introduce, showing the extraordinary, extreme costs. You'd never build another house again if you had to comply with these regulations. Once the regulations are passed, oh well, that was yesterday. We'll now do it that different way, and that's how everybody does it now. Everybody complies with the building regs, and it didn't cost a great fortune, and things that did cost money, sort of slightly clever drains in front of the front door and things, became mass-produced and became very cheap. So you just have to be brave, don't you, with those building regs to ratchet them up over a period of time. Now, there are two questions at the back, 2 points at the back, one on my right, one on the left. Do you want to do the one on the left first? The one on the left at the top first. Oh, have I lost my question? There, take the one on the right.
Yeah, good afternoon. Paul DeLucci Brown, Architecture and Urban Regeneration, and I use that because I work with communities, the private sector and the authorities. I've heard such stuff today. Some of it's kind of inspired me, and some of it's been really sad. And I don't see much vision, I'm afraid, and I'm hearing about light bulbs. Well, energy-saving light bulbs actually don't improve the quality of people's lives, and they don't improve productivity either. And I'm concerned that we're losing sight of what's affordable and what the real future holds, because humanity's changing and the way we live. No one's mentioned the electric car and the impact that has on our way of life, and it's here, 2011, 2012, it's up and down the country. There's 100 out there already being addressed. And my concern is that the quality of life, as we seal up and seal up and seal up, and we want to open a window, but we can't do that because we're going to set off an alarm, is a bit bothering. And I'm wondering where the future is. Are we looking at prefabricated timber kit housing modular design, imported in from Poland? Where is the future? And as a panel, I'm asking, how are you doing your joined-up thinking to address this?
Oh, rather a big question there.
Very big question. First of all, there is a lot of joined-up thinking going on. It's not necessarily in government, but there is a lot. And one of the people that are doing a lot of the work is WWF. You talk about the electric cars, and that's going to be, perhaps you implied that that's going to be the solution. Actually, the problem, I don't think it is. I see you also agreeing with that. Because the problem is, where do you get the power to drive all that electricity? And if you look at the number of wind turbines that you need, it's very large. I mean, 130, 150,000. It's something in that sort of region. A lot. And so we've got a lot of these things. When you start to do the numbers, that good ideas seem to sort of fall by the wayside. What is great is to deal with the existing housing stock, where we have already invested all the infrastructure, all the street lights, all the schools, all the various parts of that, and we've also invested love in our communities, which are there. Ripping our communities apart was a terrible mistake that we all made in the post-war. Communities can be very fragile. And the best thing to do with community is to leave the community what it is and renew around it.